For example, if you're going to a hospital and there is a assistant there for the doctor, a virtual assistant, virtual system, which can analyze blood pressure is this high, and this is basically the national average, or this
Anomalies.
what's happening around. Yeah, can help you find anomalies and make better decisions.
One other thing which is to look at is the process of data engineering, right? There is different types. One is the ETL and the ELT, where you extract, transform, load, and there's a concept called data lake or data warehouse lake, and there are multiple tools that are like, one is something like Databricks, we have Snowflakes, and then we have many other like Azure Synapse because of Fabric now, which has all these small pieces coming into picture. Based on the scale and the demand, people use stuff. And a couple of years back when we were talking big data, we were talking about Hadoop, right? So, so how does one choose what, let's say for example, if they want to analyze this data or they want to have this project, how can they choose as to what should be our tools and what is the process of getting this data into a standardized format? Right. So you could, some of the things like, people still do something like Excel and then do that data prep stage, wrangling stage, data quality checks, and then you put them into a data warehouse, and then you build your data marts and data cubes on top of it and things like that. Can you just give a quick summary or a brief as to how these tools will be are usually categorized or where they fit in?
I think selecting these tools, there are a bunch of factors that are important. One is, of course, data residency, right? So data residency is also important in today's context. It's not just the banking sector that's vying for data residency. I think the healthcare sector also wants it to be quite important because, end of the day, data has to reside in the country because it's of people from the country, right? And they choose who has access, how much access, all of that. So depending on that, a bunch of solutions may automatically be off the books because of presence of data centers or number of data centers, right?
Sometimes today, like offerings of Databricks or maybe even Snowflake, you can install it in your based on the availability of the region, you can install it in the servers and in the cloud.
On premises deployments also do occur, but I think again there's a huge cost factor there, right? Unless there is some sort of a government healthcare data center where it could be like they would manage the infrastructure there. That would be very beneficial on many levels. Not only about data residency, but keeping multiple copies, availability and all of that, right, would also be quite helpful there. But I think one of the main things that people in the healthcare ecosystem need to really check before selecting their tool is, of course, compatibility with a lot of other existing tools. They probably are on a different set of cloud providers or different, people working in the analytics department there, of course, they'll be used to a different set of tools, right? So all of that is also important. And end of the day, unfortunately, cost also is important, right? So these three things,
what volume of data you are looking at to and all that.
I think it really changes. I think the volume and like all these three V's, right, that we mentioned, right? Volume, veracity and variety, right?
Velocity and variety.
So velocity, veracity and volume, right? So these three things, depending on how much of each of these three points it would change what tool you would go for, right?
So moving to something which, so this can be like, so it can be a strategic idea as to use these three V's, look at what your team requires, look at the budget, and then decide how much volume is there, what is the kind of variety of data that you're getting, whether these features are available in that tool to read this kind of data and make sense easily for your analytics team, and how much of a training is required, let's say if it is upskilling or learning something new completely, and how much of a support and availability of support for this kind of work in the market is available. Look all these factors and then decide what kind of tool may be required. One is
I
you also
think
have open source options as well
Yes.
today with Apache, Spark, and Hadoop and other things which you can leverage.
I think along with just, I mean, to be honest, the tools, I mean, the amount of competition in the space is very, very high. So the tools will always try to, be on top of each other, right? So getting access to the tools is one thing, but more important than that is to sort of evolve the mindset of people working in the space, because you can get all the best tools and try to create the best pipelines, but people have to use a data driven approach where it cannot be completely subjective as to what. So subjective analysis is what happens when you don't have access to enough data, right? When people use, for example, if you're going to a hospital and there is a assistant there for the doctor, a virtual assistant, or a virtual or system which can analyze, okay, this blood pressure is this high, and this is basically the national average, or this is
anomalies.
What's happening, can help you find anomalies and make better decisions, right? Like, it should be like you have to want to use that data in the right way. So that's also a very important change that we are seeing today with a lot more access and people seeing the benefits over time. Just because it's there in front of you, you won't notice the benefit today. When people start using it and word spreads, of course, more and more people will be open to using it. So that's also, yeah.